I had Keenan Allen at 4.
Yeah,
And
you're crazy as fuck.
I'm not crazy. Keenan Allen might be top 2, if not higher, route runners in the NFL. And I feel like people underestimate how important and skillful his route running is. Like, you're like, he might be a little bit slower, but even if he's a little bit slower, he is still constantly getting separation, still constantly open. He's an amazing possession receiver. And the only reason why his numbers weren't as big this year as they were the previous years, because they really started forcing the over-the-top ball with Justin Herbert's arm for Mike Williams, and that gave Mike Williams an insane year. But Keenan Allen is by far the most underrated receiver in the league. When you talk to other wide receivers that either played or are still playing, and you ask them who's in their top, Keenan Allen is always there. Ocho said Keenan Allen's top 3. Julian Edelman said Keenan Allen's top 3, and that's all in the past year. But
you
still,
made a
he would not
TikTok
get the
about
respect.
this, right?
Huh? I did have a whole TikTok video about this. 100%. I did, because the just like pure skill of a receiver that he is really underrated for a guy that you want to say is slower than all these other guys, but gets more separation than most of them.
He does not get more separation than Devontae Adams or Kupp.
Well,
Those are his. That's the ballpark he's in, because he's not in the ballpark. You know what I mean? Like his.
Yeah, but I had them both above him.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, that's where his niche of who he fits. Like, Diggs fits with Justin Jefferson and Odell. Like, that's close. Mike Evans, you can be like, okay, I can go Mike Evans. I can go DK Metcalf. I can go Chris got bigger.
Mike Williams.
You can lump all those dudes together because they either play the same type of way or they're physically similar in many ways. I think Keelan's just so lesser. He's not lesser. It sounds terrible. He's not as good as the other two. And then the other categories, dudes are stacked on top of each other because they're that close. You know what I mean?
That's fine. Like, he's not 1 and 2. I agree. I ain't put him 1 and 2.
There's no
way. What puts him 8 for me, like top 10, but not in the top 5. It kind of goes just based off what you value. Like, my AKA included that a lot of what I'm thinking about and the way I think about this comes from a fantasy football perspective, where Keenan Allen, off skill alone, I agree, is a top 5 receiver, but he just doesn't get the touchdowns. And that's mainly because Austin Eckler is just so efficient and gets such a large red zone share that they're just not going to him in those situations. So I have him listed from a fantasy projection standpoint. Top 10, always consistent, gets you about 15 to 20 points a game, but rarely has, I feel like, those 30, 35 point fantasy games.
I think for me, the only difference, I have Terry above him. Terry's just by himself, so Terry's going to get a target share. So I feel like I don't think he's better talent-wise. I just feel like Terry is extremely talented, and he's by himself. So then you add that. I think Nuke healthy is better than him. Because Nuke is slower. He's not fast. Nuke's not fast. He's not that fast. He's bigger. He's physical. The route running is really good. It's not Keenan Allen route running. Don't get me wrong. It's not Keenan Allen route running. But it's better than Mike Evans route running.
Mm-hmm.
So you add that. And then I have Mike Thomas.